There are issues of national importance, then there is national politics. Uniting the country and understanding that we have been brainwashed for a few hundred years on the part of the two-nation theory is an issue of national importance. Polarizing the country on the basis of religion by some people who insist on being the modern-day Curzons and Jinnahs is an issue of national politics. It's a reasonable distinction, it's obvious, but the fact is, we, the people, the citizenry, the voters, we get played, we get sucker punched into confusing the two. Everyone does it. I'm not accusing anyone nor forgiving anyone. All politicians do it. So there are issues of farmers' interest, very real issues. There will be issues of farmers' interest next year and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. The reality check of the fundamental structural change into the entire agrarian landscape of India is going to be a multi-decade journey. We've come a long way from a country that was struck by famine right before independence. We could not feed ourselves. We had to beg the Americans for food, and they sent us their rotten wheat under PL 480 to a country in which your mothers and fathers, their mothers and fathers would remember the days of rationing even in urban centers. We've come a long way. Over the past 10 years, we've eliminated, as the government calls, kerosene subsidy scam, urea scams. We are providing 18,000 crores as a country, direct benefit transfer to the farmers. The next tranche goes out in a few days, in the end of February. We are providing food to 800 million people free of cost every month. We are now a food surplus country, but there are many things yet to be done, and doubling farmers' income has to be one of those priorities. So that's the national interest. That's the farmer's interest. Then, of course, there is the politics around the farmer's interest. I leave you to judge the distinction between the two. Now, it's a very neat trap that has been set for everyone, you and I included. And the neat trap is, there are politicians doing politics here. Amidst this, if you question the politicians, you are anti-farmer. If you continue questioning them, you're anti-Punjabi. And if you continue, you will be called anti-Sikh. I can say this because we've seen this happen before. So trap has been set that you cannot question anything. You have to nod along because you're trapped. Now that's an unfortunate circumstance. Now, the questions do exist, and the questions that are pertinent to all of us, every one of us, a very basic question, that if we are going to choke the national capital, first by lighting the farms on fire and choking us through October, November and December with no solution in sight, with all politicians of all hues abandoning the people to breathe their fate, then we're going to choke the lifeline of North India, which is the highway system that surrounds Delhi, which supplies everything from Pathankot to Jammu and Kashmir to Western UP to the borders of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan. And we're going to choke them, and we're going to choke this capital of 20 million people. That is perfectly sound, because we cannot be questioned, and we can continue arguing the chicken and egg that we aren't blocking the roads. It's the police who are blocking the roads. And the police says, well, we weren't blocking the roads, it's because you want to do something that we don't want to allow you to do. So the rest of us can keep getting choked in this hellhole, and we can't say anything, because as soon as you try to say something, you're anti-farmer. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, for the annadata that feeds, puts stomach in our bellies, and the value we must place to them, to the politicians who may be leading them to the path of progress or may be leading them up a garden path. I cannot be the judge of that. But let me have a conversation with 5 people who have served you and I in the armed forces. And let me ask them for their perspective. These are not politicians, ladies and gentlemen. They don't have skin in the game. These are not people seeking political aggrandizement or political careers at any point of time. And they are people whom you probably can vouch for their catalogue of service for their country on various frontiers and in various circumstances. Joining us on the broadcast, Major General Sudhakar ji is with us, Major General Dhruv Katoch, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Major General A.K. Sivach, and joining us in the studios as well is Wing Commander Praful Bakshi. General Dwivedi, if I can begin with you. Now, so we are trapped, sir. We can't really have a conversation on what's good, bad and ugly, because if we try to have a conversation, we are called instantly anti-farmer. Okay? Now, there are many things that need to be done in fairness in the development of the country. Figuring out the armed forces, people such as yourself and your families was one of them, not too distant in the past, where members of the armed forces community had a legitimate cause for one rank, one pension. Many of them did come out on the streets. To a large measure, they had a successful convincing argument towards both the people and government and achieved a percentage of what they hoped to achieve without having brought the national capital region to its knees. So there is a protest and there is a style of protest. What are we watching now, sir?
Well, Rishabh, I think firstly, you have given a very detailed background to the issue and you have covered, I think, multiple dimensions, the farmers, the politicians, and what exactly is the situation on the ground. Well, I'll give you a practical view because I am speaking from Jalandhar, have a small family farm which I look after, ancestral farm. So I'll give you a absolutely ground view as to the way not only me but the majority people here feel. Well, the farmers' demand may be legitimate, to some extent they are, but the means they are adopted are not acceptable. It's not only law and order, it's almost anarchy and blocking the lifelines. And I suffered myself on 3 occasions. I made it to from Jalandhar to Delhi in 18 hours. And I saw people on the road, sick people, the pregnant ladies. I think, why should we suffer? Because if they want to have their demand fulfilled, point number 1. Secondly, I think their demands had been well looked into. The 3 farm laws, and I teach the subject in the university, were well founded. They were in the favor of the farmers. But unfortunately, it's the politicians who hijack the agenda. And let me also share with you, I am speaking from Punjab. Here, every politician is a farmer. All the big land holdings are with them. And it's only 5-7% people who are actually calling for MSP. The majority of the farmers are marginal farmers who have just 1 or 2 acres land. And they don't actually have any benefit from MSP because they consume what they produce. So therefore, what is happening today has a lot of political angle, lot of people from outside are involved. How can you justify a farmer modifying the tractors, spending lakhs of rupees? Is almost laughable. So I would sum up, in very few words. Well, the farm demands may be genuine, but the way it is being pursued is absolutely unacceptable.
Okay.
Second, there is always negotiation. A government is negotiating. They offer a very, I think, accommodating proposal that they will consider 5 crops for the MSP for next 5 years, but that has been rejected. So therefore, the agenda behind these minuscule people, they are not the majority, they are not the majority voice, majority are not with them, are actually pursuing agendas which are beyond the farming. And I think it's a time the nation stands up and takes a call.
Okay, I was asking through the course of the day, and I've not had the opportunity to sit on television for a few days. I've been traveling for work. I was asking during the course of the day, and yes, it's a self-serving question because I happen to be one of them, but who speaks for the Dilli walas? All right. We have some self-proclaimed people speaking for the farmers of a certain part of the country. But who speaks for the Dilli walas? Today, if you're traveling to work, if you're trying to cross into Gurugram or cross into Noida and Greater Noida, where a lot of people live and work, what used to be a 20-30 minute journey is a 3 to 4 hour journey. Imagine having to do it twice a day, which means you can't work, which means your business can't function, which means your shop doesn't work, which means your supplies don't come. Think about the truckers. The truck drivers are not rich people. Okay, they ply on the road 16 hours a day. They are just being left abandoned on the sides of the roads because truck movement is stuck. As I mentioned, anybody who has a wherewithal of a knowledge of how the highway system of India operate, its centerpiece is around the national capital, supplying pretty much all of North India and the border areas and Jammu and Kashmir via Pathankot, Haridwar, Rishikesh, Dehradun, Western UP, I can go on. General Katoch, so now let's draw a reasonable parallel that there can be an honest demand. Government always has limitations. Sometimes it has excuses. Sometimes its intent is not there. But there was a legitimate demand around OROP. It was a matter of conversation and protest for a long period of time before some sort of balanced conclusion was found. Was it ideal? Absolutely not. Did we make progress? Yes, we did. Did we choke Delhi? No, we did not. How did we do that better, sir?
Thank you, Rishabh. Rishabh, I think, when General Dwivedi spoke about the issues, I think he put it into the very correct perspective. There are very small farm holdings with the majority of the people. And even if they do sell a part of their crop, they are selling it locally. They're not selling it in the mandis. It doesn't become worth their while because to sell it in the mandis, you require a bigger vehicle. You require a truck, you have got to load it onto the truck, take it to the thing. So the cost-wise, they don't have that much grain to sell. So when we are looking at the people who have got that grain to sell in the mandis, they are the bigger farmers and they are the ones who are actually agitating on the roads. I am both a military personnel and I'm also a farmer. I'm a farmer from Himachal. And my ancestors have been farming there for centuries. Now, one thing which is there in Himachal is that you don't find any form of protest there. And we are not the beneficiaries of any form of MSP. Yet there is no protest. Which leads me to the conclusion, to my next conclusion that while I can understand that some section of farmers in Punjab may be aggrieved, but I've also got relatives in places like Mukeria and all that. I don't see any sort of agreement in, any of them being aggrieved or any of them really stating that, the country has let us down very badly. Not one of them. So this leads me to the next premise. It is motivated. Now, the demands may or may not be genuine, that we can see. But this movement is certainly motivated because they know they can twist the tail of the government at this very critical juncture when the elections are around the corner. And the target is certainly the government. But more importantly, the target seems to be increasingly the Prime Minister of the country. Now, why the Prime Minister of the country is the target? That's the next, I'll give you my analysis of it.
Okay, I'll come back to that. Okay, but
right.
In politics, any person who's a politician is free to come out and say that I am a politician. I have a problem with the man who's Prime Minister and his political party, and I intend to take you down. Okay? The problem comes is when the said politician says, no, I am not a politician. I am actually a poor farmer. I'm not playing politics. I'm fighting for a cause and I intend to take the entire national capital and its surrounding areas down. Okay? That is the distinction that is being drawn. General Sivach, your thoughts on what is going around?
Yeah, Rishabh, first of all, no doubt about it. The farmers' demand may be genuine, but the point is the way they are addressing this problem, I think that is not correct. Putting tremendous pressure and trying to come in and Gherao Delhi on a daily chalo, I suppose the method which has been adopted is not correct. They are not realizing two things. One is once there are about 15 to 20,000 people gathered in both these borders, Shambhu border which is coming from Patiala toward Ambala, and another Khanuri border coming from Patiala to Jain. So many tractors are there with earth movers, heavy equipment. Now that is the where you are putting tremendous pressure in this state, and what happened in the business is stopped for 2 3 days. And the other issue which comes is that the security issue. Remember that the in Punjab, ISI has used drones to smuggle drugs as well as weapons ammunition. Though the farmer's intention is good, but who knows there are OGWs and sleeper cell get into it, and without knowing them, and they can the one which can then create as a miscreants and create a problem, and that is where the public become a mob. So that point has to be seen is why can't they follow a systematic way that there is a place which is earmarked in Delhi in basically Ramlila ground. They can go by a public transport, they can go by buses, mini buses, and they go and protest. Their demand are genuine. Of course, the government will look into it. After all, there have been a 4 meetings which have taken place, and some sort of progress has been made, and the government is open for another 5th meeting. But if you put tremendous pressure and if you are using force or intimidating the government, I don't think that is a correct way. And very rightly brought out by Janna Katoch also, majority of us are from farmer family. I am also from farmer family from Haryana. And we do not have too much land, because why we do not have too much land is that land holding has been distributed among your brothers and sisters. Now we have got only 3 to 4 acres, which you have given others to cultivate. The issue today which is coming is, my only point which is to the farmer is that we have got a lot of sympathy for them. They are the ones which are producing grain for this country, and we are proud of them. But please do not follow the method which you are doing it. This is creating a problem and confusion. And very rightly brought out why now. It means, is there any hidden agenda that just before the election you have started doing all this activities which can put pressure not only on the government, it tarnishes the image of the country all around the world. That is my point. We are the 5th largest economy and 4th largest military power. At this point of time when our economy is booming up, we are
finish it out, please.
My point is, as on today, we can say that we are the fastest growing economy in the world. We were faster growing economy before the COVID and after COVID-19. But such activities can bring you back. So my request to the farmer is, please follow the rule of the game. And your demands are genuine, but come to the solution by negotiating.
So there are demands, and then there is intent. So I don't know. I can't ascribe intent to a third party, a secondary individual. I can speak for my own. The intent should always be to solve the problem, to understand that everything can't be done, a lot can be, that government should be constantly be on the mat trying to figure out how to solve the problem that it is of making India a better place for all of us included. General Sudhakar ji, now when it comes to intent, you can argue intent that the intent is just restrictive to the issues around MSP and a legalization of MSP. Others can argue that the intent is simply that, oh, well, Narendra Modi has become too big a leader, we just want to cut him down a size. No government right now can bring some particular farm law. The best they can do is cough up an ordinance. Anything that has to be legislated has to be done by a future government in 3 months' time. This protest could be done in 3 months' time, but it's happening, and let's not kid ourselves at the timing it's happening. What do you make of what's going on?
Yeah, Dishab, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show, and compliments for using the expression of demand and the intent. I was coming in my way of expressing is to the biggest problem in the world today for any criticality or anything happening is the identification of the correct problem. I would say we have come a long way in the independent era of our country. 76 years is a long time, or 75 years. I think it's about time also to clinically decipher as to what is happening, what is the actual problem. I don't see, in my perception and study and research, The problem is not the farmers' problem. The problem is something else, which our very senior veterans and respected generals have covered, alluded to, the previous co-panelist. There is an external mastermind behind all this, which we need to, whether you call them toolkit or anything, there is a mastermind. Number one. Who is this mastermind? The government has to activate all its resources available at its disposal to pinpoint. It may be an ongoing exercise for all you know, because it has happened earlier in the past. Government has pulled back after having gone in to take a very, very, I would say, rational, judicious, and I would say calibrated decision for the larger good of the farmers. One. Number two. So if there is an external component, then how is it being steered or manipulated to cripple the capital of the country? Is it possible? Is it doable? In our constitution, we have an article called as the fundamental rights. In our constitution also, we have got the thing called a fundamental duties. Is this the way? Does democracy of our country, which is looking at 30 trillion US dollar economy by 2047, when a very noble and I would say bona fide objective that we have set for ourselves, is this the method of protest that is to be allowed by the country? So that brings me to the three couple of issues. One is education. Number two, fundamental duties that everyone is accountable for. Number three, even if the duties are enshrined in the constitution, there is a requirement of enforcement of these duties. If people do not abide by duties, there has to be some law legislated in the parliament. It has to be actually disseminated down the level. People have to be educated. Mere police force is not going to bring some kind of semblance of order.
If for a second, General Sudhakar, we just take it at face value, and there might be various other connotations. General Sivach has spoken that yes, when you start a protest, often it is hijacked by lumpen elements. You don't know who everybody in the protest is, what their agenda is. You might be coming for a very altruistic cause, but there be a mobster who's stuck in, who is creating a riot which you did not want. That could happen. We have to be aware of it. Let's not be naive. The other could happen that yes, there are many people who either conspiratorially, which means planned it all, or saw an opportunity and snuck in. All of these things can happen, and we have to be not naive and be aware of this. But then there is the means and the method, right? Let's take at the face value that the demands are just. A conversation and some middle ground has to be found. Let's take it as face value. Then it is just about the means and the method. Wing Commander Bakshi, now the only advice I can give to the people who are watching, that try not to have a medical emergency in your house right now, okay? Because if you're anywhere near these borders, you're in a lot of trouble. People can manage a day or two away from work or running a factory or running a business, but you can't manage a couple of months like that. So what do we tell the people? Who speaks for the people who live around the national capital? That's about 30-40 million people.
That's right. Thank you very much, Rishabh, for this. Rishabh, I've heard all these eminent speakers, and very knowledgeable, no doubt. But one thing we have to realize, that the word intent is used. In which way are we using the word intent? What is the intention of the farmers? First thing, are they the farmers? What does our information say? How many of them are farmers? How many of them are not farmers? Secondly, the way they are carrying out, you saw a spectacular event on 2020 Republic Day. I was on the TV show only on the day where the things were going on. When things started happening, we said on the television that after this show, there will be a rewriting of the security doctrine. This cannot take place. And mind you, we just gulped the whole incident down as if nothing had happened.
Are you talking about the Red Fort and what happened there?
That's right. I'm talking of that. And we just gulped it down, and everybody's keeping quiet about it as if nothing has happened. Believe you me, they have taken a great amount of lesson from there. They have got emboldened, and now they are carrying out all those systems which you have. They of course look like missile launchers. No, they are all these farming equipment, but they're coming down the road. Until and unless we decide ourselves, the government tells itself that our methodology, our written procedures are wrong. This is no way to handle a security situation. This is not a farmer's problem. This is a national security problem. And when the Prime Minister's cavalcade was, motorcade was stopped near the border, and so many things happened, we all talked of security, but now we don't talk of security. It's a basic security problem which is happening. Where is the money coming from? Is the money coming from the conversions in Punjab? Is that being utilized out here? Who's funding? And what is the Khalistani?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay.
What is the Khalistani connection?
I don't know.
We don't know.
But this is,
somebody has to find that out.
This is the problem, because there are going to be people who are genuinely keen on the cause. Commander, there will be genuine people there, okay, who will take offense, and they'll say you are anti-farmer, you are just painting all Sikhs as Khalistanis, okay.
Yes.
I am a Punjabi, okay, but I've heard people saying that if you question this, you're anti-Punjabi,
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
But you're talking of those 20 to 40,000 people or whatever more who are going to get affected by this. They will ask this question. Who is going to answer them this? That we have not even written a proper... Who is the threat? Are they the threat? Are we going to call them a threat? What is the definition of a threat? We have to rewrite it. The flag being down on the Red Fort and everybody is very honky-dory, very comfortable.
Okay, all right.
This aspect, that is going to be...
I just want to go quickly across the panel before I run out of time.
Let's not forget about, yes, traffic will be stopped. People will be stopped. I know what happened near Sarita Vihar. For 6 months we sat on that. That's okay. Well, if you are ready to suffer, we will suffer. But for how long?
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
Very sensitive.
Okay. So all right. Okay. So I quickly go across General Dwivedi. I just want to go across everyone before I run out of time. So just 30 seconds, 1 minute, sir. What would your empathetic advice be on how this should proceed? Should it move to the side of the road, in a Maidan, in a stadium that is found, somewhere near Delhi? Should it continue there, or should the blockade of the streets continue? What's your empathetic advice?
Well, Rishabh, first and foremost, I think we must have a national law that no one has the right to block the roads. No one has the right to inconvenience the public. After all, it's the public that is suffering. And I think there has to be a national law on this issue. Second point is, well, they should protest a part of the democratic system, but they should be given a place to protest. And protest must have rules, ground rules. You can't violate the ground rules. And I think that needs to be laid down. And my third important point is, because I belong to Punjab, speaking from Jalandhar, the issue is Punjab is a very sensitive state. It is not just only the farmers. I think the whole gimmick is the face of the farmers, but behind that, there is a larger game plan.
Okay.
And that is, I think, connected to national security. I think this issue must be taken not only as the farmers, but the national issue.
Okay.
And my last point is that there has to be a method in madness. You can't have this type of thing going on. It reflects very poorly on us as a nation.
Okay, so last time around, it's been mentioned what happened at the Red Fort. Ugly scenes took place. Then you had the Rihannas and the Greta Thunbergs. You already have the Al Jazeeras and the New York Times all pouncing in. Okay, you can allude to that whatever you want. I don't know. Okay, unless confronted with evidence one way or the other, I don't know. I can only take it at face value that a face value protest is being organized. One should try to take it at face value and then offer empathetic advice. Empathy is that on the assumption that you have the right to protest in this country, which is a fact, what is a better way to do it? What's your empathetic advice, General Katoch?
1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Right, Rishabh, very frankly, in this particular case, I don't think empathy is going to do any good. Because the motivations are different. The motivations have got nothing to do with empathy or with the strike. Theoretically, the government says, okay, I concede ABC to you. I still feel that the strike is not going to end.
Yeah, DEF will come. Yes, correct.
See, because the point is different. Why are they going on strike? It is to embarrass the government and to embarrass the Prime Minister. And if they actually compromise and say, okay, we're going to get out, they wouldn't have come in the first place. Empathy is not going to do anything as far as this particular situation is concerned. I think that as far as the farmers are concerned, a very large percentage of farmers in Punjab are not involved. In Punjab, Haryana, and in other places. In Himachal, I can certainly say they're not involved. So I think we need to put two things I think need to be done. As an immediate measure, I think public pressure needs to be put on the people who are there. At the moment, reverse pressure is being applied. I have it from from first-hand sources who are family, that in villages, those people are being directed to say to go there even when they don't agree. And so I asked them, I said, then why does one member of the family have to go? He says, if we don't send one member, then we'll be boycotted. So, that's the sort of social pressure that is actually being waged at the ground level. As a long-term measure, you see, let us face it, farming is not an attractive proposition anymore. It is not economical. You've got to wean them away from farming
Yes.
and industrialization.
Okay, so the structural reforms, yes.
But
There are
that is a long-term measure.
structural changes
As
that
an
need to
immediate
happen.
measure,
Yes.
Be firm. As an immediate measure, be firm.
Okay,
and
all right.
Get public opinion against them.
Okay, General Sewach, again, I'll use the word empathetic advice. What's your empathetic advice to the people leading this protest and partaking?
My only advice will be, Rishabh, that they must understand they cannot take the system on the ransom. The government of the day is very keen to find out solution. The intention of the government is very noble. They have already had 4 meetings. Immediately they said we will have a 5th meeting. So it means the government is very keen to find out a midway. And I suppose some sort of solution should come out, because this tarnishes the image of the country. What is happening by these farmers agitating and blocking the entry point to Delhi is not sending a good message internationally. So that is a very important thing. Now, remember, Rishabh, in one thing which I want to say, the pulses. The government is saying for 5 years they will also give some sort of assurance for the pulses. What is happening in the northern part of the country, that we are now no more producing pulses, we are only going for rice and wheat because we get a MSP. And pulses is the country which is importing. Some, however, the government must also do something, that you give incentive to the farmers who can then get the pulses. And
So
the
there are
crop
lots
has
of
to
structural
change.
issues.
The
Okay.
pattern has to
Yes,
change.
there are lots of
What I'm
structural
saying is,
issues.
I'm sure government. Yeah.
Many people can argue that the farming laws which were brought in were meant to address the structural issues, but those were
Absolutely,
scrapped.
I agree.
Because of the farmers' protest last time around. And I use the word farmers quite literally because it is leaders who are putting the protest, they're putting together, they plan a 60-day protest, they bought food and they've converted the tractor trolleys. Just imagine the amount of funds that have been put together for this. I'm assuming that all those funds have been collected house to house in a very organic way. I don't know. General Sudhakar, your empathetic advice.
Yeah, empathetic advice, Rishabh. Firstly, dissect the problem into the following heads: long-term, short-term, medium-term, and local, middle level, and the national level. There are problems at each of these levels. Hold the people. Where are the representatives of the assembly, state assembly, and the member of parliament? What are they doing? Aren't they supposed to reach out to these people, address the national objective to the people? Or it is Narendra Modi Sahab who is to go and do all this? Or it is the debate in the TV like yours? Nobody is listening, and even if they listen, they don't understand. One point. Number two, in case of a short-term thing, we need to actually dissect what is the demand. Out of all the demands, whatever little I have understood, Rishabh, in a short time, is Government of India a procurement agency? Is it supposed to be procuring all kinds of things? Is it supposed to be addressing the WTO issue? Yes, farmers' agitation is going on in Europe. India is not Europe today, nor Europe is India today. If there is some meaningful and substantive agenda or point, let a committee be decided as a short-term measure, look into the aspect, and have a robust redressal mechanism. Let there be no third time again people coming out with these kind of means and methods to encircle the city, the capital, and seize the capital. This is not
Okay, all
last
right.
point, Rishabh,
Yes.
if you allow me. There is an angle of legislation of laws. It is not on. It cannot go on like this. When you legislate a law, this kind of thing should be actually chronicled in a manner that should be investigated so as to find out which is the outside support. How are the supports coming? How can you choke the support like this in future? A preventive measure, actually the genius lies in how to prevent
Okay,
an
so
occurrence
again, the
of-
thing is that until presented with evidence that such is happening, I can't conclude that. One can suspect that all sorts of vultures apply where the rot is festering. That happens. But empathetic advice, Wing Commander Bakshi, what's your empathetic advice? Should they just get off the side of the roads, find a place, take a pause for the cause? What should happen?
Rishabh, it has to be on 2 prongs. First thing is proper advice, if at all followed to the national government, that what steps have to be taken, an advisory, and they rewrite a paper, find a solution. This has to be on a national level with educational bodies involved in it. And secondly, the agitators must be educated. Are your demands correct? The incentives are equal to the GDP of the defense being given. How much? If all the 23 items are being provided with that, you're close to 10,000 crores. Is that supposed to be there? Is a proper thing to do? Until and unless we openly speak up, and it has been done and they are exposed to it. See, they are not exposed to it. I do not know which file the whole thing goes, who sees, who does not see. It's very, very difficult to find out. But it has to be an open debate.
Okay, all right. So I'll leave the assessment here, and these are not 5 politicians sitting on the broadcast with us. They're all army veterans, okay? One Air Force veteran. So I'll leave the assessment to you on what you've just heard. The consensus seems to be that this time around, something stinks. We don't know what it is. It could not be. Maybe it's all altruism and we are misinterpreting it. But there's a bottom line, and the bottom line is where I began this conversation. Who speaks for the Dilli walas? Or are all Dilli walas inconvenienced today? Okay? And if they say, let's at least open the roads, if asking for the opening of roads and the smooth running of traffic so everybody can go back to work and travel across borders, is that quintessentially saying you're anti-farmer? So the trap has been set. It's for us to either walk into it, shy away from it, or take it on. I don't know what the answers are. I left you with the views that you've just heard. My thanks to all of you, gentlemen.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.